Welcome back to That One Conservative Show, the third episode in this mini podcast installment. Hosted by me, That One Conservative Guy. Make sure you go check out our Instagram page at That One Conservative Guy, and also our TikTok, That One Conservative Guy as well. This podcast is on YouTube, SoundCloud, and everything, so make sure you go check it out, share it with your friends and everything. But for today's topic, we're going to be talking about the recent allegations against former Vice President Joe Biden. Mainly in this episode, we're going to analyze what we got so far, and we're going to talk about the left's double standard, okay? So we have the accuser. Her name is Tara Reade, and I hope I'm saying that right. It's Tara, and her last name is Reade. I'm assuming that's how you say it. If not, please correct me. So we have this accuser, Tara Reade. She used to work for Biden. She was a staffer for Biden when he was a senator. And this events had taken place in the early 90s. So I believe it was 1993. So first off, I want to look at how the Democrats are being very, very hypocritical of this accusation. Because, okay, so an accusation is an accusation. But there's starting to be some mounting evidence that is coming up to show that, hey, this happened, let's at least look into it, okay? It's not just a accusation from 30 years ago. There's starting to be some mounting evidence, such as the Larry King Live and everything else, but we will get to that in a minute. But I want to take a second and call out the left's double standards. Remember Brett Kavanaugh. When we were on Capitol Hill, we're interviewing Brett Kavanaugh, we're working on his appointment to the Supreme Court. Out of nowhere, an accuser comes up. Little to no evidence, okay? And in fact, there was really no evidence to show that Brett Kavanaugh assaulted this person. So the left went crazy. We're on, we're talking 24/7 coverage. We're covering the hearings, everything. We are having, everybody's going crazy. All the Democrats are going crazy over this. Remember, little to no evidence. The Democrats went completely insane. They were, like I said, CNN was covering this 24/7. Brett Kavanaugh, sexual abuser, everything else going on. Non-stop. But there's actually more evidence against Biden than there was against Brett Kavanaugh. Isn't that interesting? Keep that in mind. So, if we look at what's been going on now, remember we had the CNN, we had, all the news media outlets, Democrats, they went completely crazy when Brett Kavanaugh was accused once of sexual assault. Biden has been accused of this, and we haven't heard nothing from the news media. In fact, one of the main pieces of evidence is a Larry King Live clip from 1993 where the victim's mother actually called in and discussed it with Larry King. CNN refused to cover this. In fact, it took other news media outlets calling out CNN for them to cover it. In fact, the whole time this has been going on, all the interviews and everything with Joe Biden from the people like Chuck Todd and Anderson Cooper, they have failed to mention it. They have not mentioned it. In fact, you could say that they're giving Joe Biden, they're doing Joe Biden a favor. I guess you could put it that way. They're omitting this coverage. They're refusing to cover it so people don't find out about this. Because God forbid that Democratic Party has a sexual predator, which they already do, because you see all these clips of Joe Biden anyway. But a sexual assault person on as their ticket, as their candidate. So that's kind of showing that they're double standard right there. They're trying to avoid that, but it's unraveling very fast. People are starting to catch on to what's going on, and we really need to keep an eye out on this, and we need to make sure that this doesn't fade back into the news media and everything else like that. So, to continue on with this, CNN refused to cover it. CNN is refusing to cover it, and they finally mention it, but it's only very slightly. You got to think, by this time, after the accusations of Brett Kavanaugh, it was nonstop. But they've only mentioned this Tara Reade and the Larry King Live only just a little bit. Few minutes of coverage compared to hours of coverage of Brett Kavanaugh. Clips of the episode from Larry King Live in the 1993 episode where the mother's victim called in and discussed it. The clips of the episode are being removed from like Google Play and some different places. They're being removed. They don't want people to find out about this. They don't want people to find out that Joe Biden is a rapist, because that's just showing their hypocrisy. I mean, really, this whole episode is just comparing the Brett Kavanaugh response to the Joe Biden response. These are the same people. The same people that were sitting on the very committee interviewing Brett Kavanaugh, hammering him about the sexual assault allegations, are the same people that are now kissing Joe Biden's tail, wanting to be his VP. They haven't said a word about it. In fact, today I'm recording this on Monday, April 27th. Nancy Pelosi has not said a word about it. She came out and endorsed him today. Not a word has been said about it. And if that is not hypocrisy at its finest, I don't know what is. Brett Kavanaugh, at this point, if you analyze both of them, they were going crazy over Brett Kavanaugh. Joe Biden, they haven't said a word. Double standards. Keep this in mind. Again, another news development really popping up today. A former neighbor, has came out and backed up the story of the mother and the victim. The neighbor is actually, in fact, a Biden supporter. And she's broken her silence and came out and backed up this accusation. Remember, Brett Kavanaugh, they wanted him off. They were like, he did this, we have no evidence, but we want him off. He is a horrible person. We have this evidence with Joe Biden, they refuse to talk about it. It's insane. So I believe some people are finally starting to come out and call this hypocrisy out and this double standard. And also, too, if you think about it, how the Democrats with Brett Kavanaugh, they wanted him off immediately. They didn't believe in due process. They believe if you are accused, you need to resign immediately. Now, all of a sudden, well, this isn't, we got to look into this due process, everything. All of a sudden, they believe due process is the right way. Versus before, you're accused, even if it's a fake accusation, you're done. Again, double standard. So, I think it's very interesting, too. You look at the people that were on the very same committee questioning Kavanaugh on his sexual assault allegations. People like Kamala Harris and stuff like that are the same people now that are kissing Joe Biden's tail for the VP pick. They haven't mentioned it once. They're going to pretend and pretend and pretend that it doesn't exist. That is going to come and bite them in the butt. It is. You can't deny it. And I believe that, people really need to be paying attention to this, because especially Democrats, you're looking at your own party here, okay? And you're looking at how the double standard of your party is. Why would you want to be a part of that? Why do you want to be in a party that is literally going against their own words? They're going against what they said they believe in. That is a party of corruption, a party of misleading information, a party of manipulation. I encourage you, if you are a Democrat watching this, you need to maybe just start thinking of what are your alternatives. Do you really want to be a part of a party that is going down this path? The path of manipulation, the path of hypocrisy, of double standard. Do you really want to be a part of that? That's a question for you to decide. But we have gone over pretty much everything I wanted to go over in this little mini podcast. But we need to be keeping an eye out on the situation, and we need to make sure that this story doesn't fade away. We need to make sure that people know that Joe Biden, who he really is. And we need to make sure that the Democrats don't cover this up. You know, it's just a very interesting time. We've got to make sure that the Democrats don't manipulate their voters. We can't let them manipulate the American people. That is exactly what they're doing here. They're covering up stuff to manipulate their voters, manipulate the American people, and that's what the media is doing too. They're manipulating people. They're tricking you. And a lot of people are falling for it, but we need to make sure that people don't fall for it. We need to make sure that people are being wise and they're smart and they know what they're doing. That's all I want to talk about in today's episode of That One Conservative Show. Make sure you stay tuned next week for the next episode of this. I figured this is a great topic for today. So leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'm very interested to read them. But we just need to keep an eye out on this. Make sure that the Democrats don't keep manipulating and covering up, lying, double standards. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys all in the next podcast. Make sure you go follow my Twitter, my Instagram, my TikTok, and everything for more political content. And I'll see you guys all later. Stay safe.